Live. All right. So I will just put the link to this into the old chat. And see. Boop, and right into there. Enter. And I can put that into Twitter. Whew. So how you doing, Natcha?
Not too badly, mate. And yourself?
Oh, a little frustrated at my computer, but other than that, pretty good.
Oh, we all have those moments, so...
Yeah. Actually, I made some pretty good dinner. I'm not gonna lie, that it was pretty good.
Well, that's always good.
Yeah.
I've pretty much just woken up. And I actually made a point to wake up early today so that I could be here, just in case.
Oh, thank you, man. That's...
I sort of had to anyway. I got work tomorrow again, so if I didn't start to try and get up early, I would be screwed by tomorrow. So it probably did me good.
Yeah, I do that. Like after long vacations, the last couple days I have to get myself set to
Sort of work your body clock back into work mode.
Right, so I will screen share. Oh, you can use an application. All right, share, and here we go. Everyone should be seeing the Dianetics. Yes. Or wait, can I just share that window?
Whoa.
Ooh, pay no mind to all of these.
Porn.
It's mostly just screenshots of terrible.
Do you know
things.
or at least you know of RJ? He's quite frequently on his own channel, but of course also on Sci Strike's movie night.
RJ Downard?
Yes, he screen shared yesterday, and we did the same thing with him. So funny, because the last person in the world you'd expect to have porn on your desktop, but we still made it out to be.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this works a whole lot better. I'm doing an application window, like a window share instead of just a screen share.
Much better idea.
This is
maximize.
If that'll no, does it want to do? Do I have to?
It'll do.
There we go.
Yeah.
I am going to zoom in just a tad. All right. So we're finally.
Make it a bit wider again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just so we can see the full text.
There we go. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So we're finally on to chapter 1 of Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. Which, it's kind of unfortunate. When I started this, I used to trip over saying Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. Now I can say it pretty well.
Just as the tongue twister, or actually processing what you're saying and trying not to vomit?
A little of both. So,
very cool.
Yeah. So I think we can start on chapter 1, the scope of Dianetics.
Did your microphone unplug there? Because you've gone awfully quiet.
How do I sound now?
Yep, you're back.
Yeah,
Once you said you were about to start, it went click, click, and you went out.
Huh. Yeah, my new microphone, headset, every once in a while I just have to unplug it and plug it back in. So, yes, please tell me if you can't hear me.
I will let you know.
Yes. A science of mind is a goal which has engrossed thousands of generations of man. That first sentence, that first, se- what is a science of mind? Just and it's engrossed thousands of generations of men. Okay,
I'm
armies.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess that it's the scientific understanding of the mind, the consciousness.
You've been infected. You've started to understand his meaning.
I've spent a lot of time researching this crap, so
Ooh. Armies, dynasties, and whole civilizations have perished for the lack of it. Rome went to dust for the want of it. China swims in blood for the need of it, and down in the arsenal is an atom bomb. Its hopeful nose full armed in arrogance of it. Okay, I don't I don't see how a working understanding of psychology, not having one, leads to the atom bomb.
yeah, it's conflating a few different issues there. I think
Yep.
just a couple.
Just just a few small details.
Yeah, minor details.
Yeah. No quest has been more relentlessly pursued or has been more violent. No primitive tribe, no matter how ignorant, has failed to recognize the problem as a problem, nor has it failed to bring forth at least an attempted formulation. Today, one finds the Aborigine of Australia. I knew I should have brought you in for this episode.
Irony, right?
Substituting for science of mind a magic healing crystal. The shaman of British Guiana makes shift make makes shift for actual mental laws with its monotonous song and concentrate
Consecrated.
consecrated cigar. Oh,
Consecrated.
thank you. Um,
You're right.
consecrated, just holy cigars. Actually, I want to try one of those now.
I
I have a
mean, I can
feeling.
only imagine that they're not tobacco.
I know. Yes, consecrated cigars. The throbbing drum of the Goldie Medicine Man serves in the stead of an adequate technique to alleviate the lack of serenity and patience. So he's saying that okay, so if he means that a science of mind is like an understanding of the human consciousness, then he's saying that like the Aborigines and British shamans, their healing magic and their whatever rituals are supposed to be some way of trying to understand the human mind, which correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe they are. At least not
Well,
wholly.
it could be that he's postulating that this is how man has in history gone about to try and find a solution, or these are the different ways even ancient men had tried to figure out this control of the mind.
Hmm.
Possibly speculating a bit now.
Yeah, because it kind of seems that when he's talking about the science of the mind, he means the mind. But as far as I know, shamans and ritualistic healing crystals are about curing physical ailments. So if he's trying to say that, it's weird. This hurts me. The enlightened and golden age of Greece yet had but superstition in its principle, Santoria for mental ills.
It's not Santorum, that's all I know.
Ooh. The The Asclepian Temple. What? The Asclepian Temple. The enlightened and golden age of Greece, yet had but superstition in its principles. Sanatoria, principal sanatoria for mental ills. The
Senate. I'll
Huh?
just give a bit of context because we're going to
Yeah.
just run over words otherwise. Sanatoria, an establishment for the medical treatment of people who have chronic illness, basically. So it's,
Okay, so like a
sort of
hospice.
like a medical treatment set. Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, for mental ills. So it's
But
hospice for mental ills.
okay.
And
The
I'll have a look at the Esculapian temple, see what that is.
I have a feeling just from context from what you just read there that it's probably like a temple that treated mentally ill people.
Yeah, like the Greek one.
Yeah. The,
Yes, they're healing temples located in ancient Greece and Rome.
hmm.
Awesome. Now we know.
Yes, learn a new thing every day, even by reading Dianetics. The most the Roman could do for peace of mind for the sick was to appeal to the penates, the household divinities, or sacrifice to Thebris, goddess of fevers, and English king, and an English king centuries after could have been found in the hands of exorcists who sought to cure his deliriums by driving the demons from him. Okay. Okay. I feel like that paragraph is probably a true statement of historical fact.
Yeah, it's demonizing it's working its way into
Yeah.
demonizing psychology. Yeah.
Yes. All right. For the most ancient times From the most ancient times to the present, in the crudest primitive tribe or the most magnificently ornamented civilization, man has found itself in a state of awed helplessness when confronted by the phenomena of strange illnesses or aberrations. Okay, so as far as I'm aware from reading what I've read, whenever he says aberrations, he does mean like a mental disorder. Okay. His desperation in his efforts to treat the individual has been but slightly altered during his entire history, and until this 12th century past mid-term, the percentages.
20th.
Oh, see what I mean? This is why I need a second
It's all
person
right.
with me.
All good.
This 20th century past midterm, the percentages of his alleviation in terms of individual mental derangements compared evenly with the success of shamans confronted with the same problems. According to a modern writer, the single advance of psychotherapy was clean quarters for the madman. In terms of brutality in treatment of the insane, the methods of the shaman or bedlam have been far exceeded by the civilized techniques of destroying nerve tissues with the violence of shock and surgery, treatments which were not warranted by the results obtained and which would not have been tolerated in the meanest primitive society. Yeah, in the meanest primitive society. Well,
So what he's basically saying is he's comparing the old awful methods so
yeah,
claimed by the shamans and all that, and saying now our civilized stuff is even so worse that the old folk wouldn't even do it of primitive society. But that's I mean, there's a bit of truth to it, but that also there's not, because they did a whole lot worse things back then. Like
yeah.
it's
Like
like a false equivalency.
now, this book was written in the 1950s, where the treatment of psychological disorder was different from today. But even
Lobotomies was still a big thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and the treatment centers themselves were awful. They were awful. So I mean, there is some truth to what he says,
yeah.
but where he's going with it,
Mhm.
no.
And I think it's especially important to realize it was written in the 1950s because today things are so much different, from
Oh
then,
yeah,
so that
you would hear the where is it? I just lost my spot for a second. The civilized techniques of destroying nerve tissue with violence of shock and surgery. It gives you in your head, you picture the old style, lobotomies and shock treatment or shock therapy and all of those sort of things, which nowadays just aren't a thing. Like, at least for the vast majority of cases, aren't a thing.
Yeah. So right there, just the difference in our, and how far we've advanced with treatment of these things, just cuts down his argument before it even really begins. Um, yeah. Since they since they reduce the victim to mere zombieism, destroying most of his personality and ambition and leaving him nothing more than a manageable animal.
Definitely referring to a lobotomy there.
Yeah. Far from
And
an
there's a few others.
Mhm.
Sorry, you're right.
No, no, sorry. Far from an indictment of the practices of the neurosurgeon. What does he mean? Why? Like, even in the 50s, a neurosurgeon was a real thing. Why is that in air quotes?
Well, because everything is, when it comes to brain science, he doesn't really believe in it.
Hmm.
So all of that is going to be in quotation marks because he thinks it's all BS.
Yeah. Practice of the neurosurgeon and the ice pick, which he thrusts and twists into insane minds. They are brought forth only to demonstrate the depths of desperation man can reach when confronted with the seemingly unsolvable problem of deranged minds. Yeah, so just like before his argument even truly starts, just how we've advanced today just cuts his argument down.
It does do a pretty good job of that, doesn't it?
Yeah, because
Takes away a lot
I
of the relevancy to
mhm.
his words.
Yeah, which I think is more obvious with this than with most religions, though most religions suffer from the same thing, becoming outdated.
Oh yeah, I mean there are a lot. The ones that try and update themselves with the times, the ones that will be our biggest struggle to stop because they will continue to try and update. But luckily, they are fewer.
Yeah, um, things like Mormonism does it with their changing of doctrines and things like that. Doesn't
Technically, JWs do because they constantly put in new light to try and keep themselves relevant in a way or keep it legit.
I'm fairly sure that that Scientologists also do it as well by like giving new dictates from the Sea Org. Um,
This is yeah,
but I
that
think
would be, as far as I know, pretty continual.
yeah, but I think that really the reason most people don't see this bullshit is because there's like 20 books that you have to read. Like the starter book set, there's like 20 of them.
Oh yeah, and I
All
mean
of them.
that's what I was thinking before. This is just the beginning. Like this is the stuff that is easy to get your hands on. You
Mhm.
know.
So it's no wonder people like skip over shit like this.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
and we'll spend a whole lot of money on just buying it to say they've done it and move on.
Oh yeah. Um, I'm definitely not. I think I will continue if it becomes something people like on my channel. I'm going to continue reading Scientology stuff, but I do not plan on giving them a single penny. You know.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
In the larger sphere of society and nations, the lack of such a science of mind was never more evident, for the physical sciences, advancing thoughtlessly far in advance of man's ability to understand man, have armed him with terrible and thorough weapons which await only another outburst of the social insanity of war. So is he saying that psychology at that time, so 1950 psychology, would be used, like just lobotomizing prisoners of war or something? Like, is that what he's trying to say?
Uh, I, I got to admit, I got distracted by Twitter for a second there.
Don't we all? Um, yeah, I think that's what he was trying to say there. Uh,
Was this the top paragraph or?
yes, top paragraph.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Whatever.
These problems are not mild ones. They lie across every man's path. They wait in company with his future. As long as man has recognized that his chief superiority over the animal kingdom was a thinking mind, so long as he understands that his mind alone was his weapon, he has searched and pondered and postulated in effort to find a solution. Um, a solution to what? He does not state a problem within this paragraph. He makes a statement that there that okay, I think he means like
He's like,
finding. Uh, you go,
he's,
Nacha.
you're right though. He does. He states that there's the problems. There's a mild one, and he describes what the problem is without actually saying what the problem is.
Yeah,
Recognize his superiority over the animal kingdom is the thinking mind, which still kind of doesn't make sense because I'm I'm pretty sure that thinking is a thing that animals do. It's just there's other things to it.
yeah,
So long as he understood that the mind alone was his weapon. See, it's not even as you say, it's not bringing up the problem.
I think what is happening here.
So Iowan,
Oh, is Godless Iowan in the chat?
Iowan and Snarky and Spooky and Snaily
Oh,
and Mouse
my heart is warmed in this cold Maine night. I think this is like a perfect example of an extended deepity. You know, he sounds profound. He sounds like he's deep without actually saying
Gotcha.
anything. You know,
because all he's pretty much pointing. He's just pointing out that we think that we are superior over animals because we have a thinking mind, and that's sort of and that it's a weapon that we can use.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm not postulating efforts to find a solution. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, new sub from Iowan. Look at that.
Wow. This is quite the night. You know, I knew I should have just got an Australian on.
It's all my fault.
Like a jigsaw puzzle filled by a careless hand, the equations which would lead to a science of mind, and above that, to a master of science of the universe. Can you go to college for that? Get your masters of science of the universe?
Masters of Science of the Universe. You probably could go to the Scientology college for it. You got a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
I bet Tom Cruise would be walking around with that bloody master's degree in his, up on his wall.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, couple $1 million for a BA and BS.
Exactly.
Science of the universe were stirred around and around. Sometimes two fragments would be united. Sometimes, as in the case of the Golden Age of Greece, a whole section would be built. Philosopher, shaman, medicine man, mathematician. Each looked at the pieces. Some saw they must all belong to a different puzzle. All belong to different puzzles. Some thought they all belonged to the same puzzle. Some said there were really 6 puzzles in it. Some said 2. And the wars went on, and the society sickened or were dispersed, and learned tomes were written about ever increasing hordes of madmen.
So he really is conflating everything of history with the search of, sort of the search of psychology. Because for a long time there, we didn't really understand psychology. It even had different conceptual names to it and everything. And it just seems that he's conflating that search to understand the mind, just in general or in a medical practice, with all of the wrongs of history, wars, and it just seems a bit outlandish.
Yeah. Thanks for subscribing, Squirrel Surfer. Yeah. But yeah, and like, which philosophers said that there were six puzzles, and which ones said 2? Like, he just says that some people said some stuff. but doesn't tell us who, what, when, where, or why. Um,
Yeah, he's definitely going on an idea of just over time in general that all these different approaches have never come to any agreement.
hmm.
But again, that's sort of disproven also, not necessarily with our current knowledge, but just with what is a study, is that there are lots of different branches in psychology, and not all of them are meant to meld together and make sense, both together, because the mind is a very complex thing.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, I think what he's trying to do is what most religions try to do is take something complex and simplify it down so that people can feel better about it because they understand it now, despite not actually understanding it. And of course, he's trying to vilify everything that's not what he's saying. You know,
oh my god, the chat. So Iowan's like, first up, he's like, wait, Brant is sick? Did he stand downwind of one of his memes? And then
woo!
Mrs. Snarky says, some philosophers think my butt is juicy. Those two.
I mean,
Insane.
I'm sure there are philosophers who think that.
I know one who will think that. Philosophically godless. That's why I just call him GI or Iowan. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, right.
Philofuckily.
With the
I
method,
cannot.
uh,
Yeah, right.
with the methods of bacon, I'd like to know what the methods of bacon were. Go do it slow on a medium hot pan. I'm fairly sure that's what it is. Some good.
Don't make me hungry, man. I did just wake up. I'll walk away. Like, I'll just walk off and get food.
with With the mathematics of Newton, the physical sciences went on, consolidating and advancing their frontiers. And like a derelict battalion, careless of how many allied ranks it exposed to destruction by the enemies, studies of the mind lagged behind. So, right there, he's trying to say, not all science is bullshit, but psychology is bullshit.
He is, and he's using the simple. Well, even if you take what he's saying as fact, that the physical sciences seem to develop sooner before the science of the mind, as he's calling it, psychology. That doesn't. There's like they're not. Then did he expect them to all happen at the same time? Like, I don't get the methodology behind the reason here. Like, it doesn't make sense that just at all, that because it was something discovered later, that it's not true, or that there's anything wrong with it, or that it could be even a negative.
Yeah.
I don't get it, and there's a lot of other things that without the studies of the physical world, we wouldn't have gotten to understand these things. Like without Newtonian science and things like the discoveries, I'm imagining that the science that Einstein gave us and all these other great minds gave us in the physical sort of understanding of things, these things would have led to more advanced understandings of the mind because we could dig deeper into it, basically.
Oh yeah, definitely. And with like things like the physical sciences, as technology gets better, our ability to understand them, to look into it, to understand things, also increases. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Uh, but after all, there are just so many pieces in any puzzle. There are just so many pieces in any puzzle. Before and after Francis Bacon, Herbert Spencer, and a very few more, many of the small sections had been put together. Many honest facts had been observed. Okay, so he's not saying that everyone in the field was absolute liars, but he is saying that they only had bits of it and they put them together wrong. Okay. To adventure into the thousands of variables of which that puzzle was composed, one had only to know right from wrong, true from false, and use all man and nature as his test tube. Okay, so again, I just don't understand what he's saying.
He's saying that basically it's just through all of this not understanding what we were doing, we're still happy to use man as the guinea pig.
Okay. Well, which is a thing we don't necessarily do so much anymore, you know? Um,
No.
like the Stanford prison experiments kind of gave us caused some stricter rules to be put into place when testing uh things like that. But again,
And that's
those
specifically in psychology. There's also
yeah,
the physical sciences that had to, like you think when World War One and Two were going, or was it World War One was going off, and they hadn't invented parachutes yet. And they hadn't also invented test dummies, crash dummies, and so a lot of these tests were done by living people, and that's the way they would test the effects of G-forces and crashes and all sorts of things.
oh yeah, and now we have a lot. But again, a lot of that regulation did come in after the 1950s. So
Oh yeah,
I don't agree with him. I think he was being purposefully misleading
deceitful.
and
Mm-hmm.
deceitful, but I can understand why he did it, but I still think he was wrong for doing it. You know what I mean? Like I think he did what most people who start religions do. He saw a problem that other people saw and then thought, "Hey, I can make money off of this." Or, gain power or whatever.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating that he didn't seem to do any proper like studying of the psychology, different avenues that he could have properly studied instead of taking what seems to be a lot more of not just pop culture, but I mean it was a lot of what was known at the time, but not the deeper understandings of anything. He seems to take everything at face value.
I think if you took Kent Hovind, but made the area that he argues in psychology instead of evolution, this is what you'd get. You know,
Yeah, that makes
uh,
sense.
yeah, because Kent, much like this guy, is being purposefully deceitful, and willfully ignoring things so that he can, I don't know, well, in Kent's case, we definitely know it's to make money, uh, and have his minions build him a retirement home. But of what must a science of mind be composed? Oh, we finally get a list of what he thinks that a proper science of the mind should be. So let's okay. 1. An answer to the goal of thought.
Huh.
What?
An
A.
answer to the goal of thought.
So A. What is the goal of thought? And B. Is it a question? Like, is okay. 2. A single source of all insanities, psychoses, neuroses, compulsions, repressions, and social derangements. So he's saying that the science should be a source of these things or should be able to identify the source of these things. I think it's the second one, but the way he wrote it makes it sound like the first one. 3. Invariant scientific evidence as to the basic nature and fundamental background of the human mind.
Functional background.
Oh, thank you. Functional background of the
All
human
good.
mind. The functional background of the human mind?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I was even considering messaging Chris Shelton and being like, "Hey, dude, are you doing anything?" We're reading Dianetics, but I know if I say that, he'll be like, "Yeah, no, not interested. Don't want to read that fucking book again."
Actually, I've thought about trying to contact some of the people who've left Scientology and see if I can get them onto the show.
This is, I would highly recommend to try and get in contact with Chris Shelton. He would be a great number one go-to. I was amazed that he came onto my channel when I was still very small. And I mean, I'm still very small compared to him, and he's just one of the number one people you could get, because he's a YouTuber. He does like weekly podcasts and all this stuff on Scientology. He's also one of the lead advisors for Leah Remini's Scientology in the Aftermath, and he is, he knows Leah and Mike Rinder and all the rest of them.
Oh yeah, like I will definitely try to get into contact with him. So if
I literally just dropped in live on one of his podcasts and said, "Hey Chris," in just the side chat. I'm like, "Hey Chris, I'd love to have a chat with you." And I didn't expect him to get back to me. I literally had to go, didn't watch the rest of the podcast. Somebody else later found me and said, "Chris Shelton wants you to get in contact with him because he saw your message and he wants to chat." It's like, whoa! So, highly recommend. Go say hello.
Yeah, I definitely will. All right, so 4. You can't see me because I'm screen sharing, but I said 4 and held up 3 fingers.
You could have just not said anything. Nobody would have noticed.
It's true, but I feel like I need to just tell people so that they know just how damaging this book is to your brain cell count.
Very cool. Very cool.
4. Techniques. The art of application by which the discovered single source could be invariably cured, ruling out, of course, the insanities of malformed, deleted, or pathologically injured brains or nervous systems, and particularly iatrogenic psychoses, those caused by doctors and involving the destruction of the living brain itself. Oh, so like lobotomy and shock therapy and things.
Yeah, we'll believe that.
Okay.
I was gonna look it up, but seeing you see to find it.
Yeah, I will grant if I don't know something and it doesn't seem super important, like, the definition of iatrogenic psychoses, I'll just grant it to him because this book is filled with so much bullshit already. It doesn't matter if I could grant him that the moon is made out of cheese and the rest of the book would still make him look dumb as fuck.
Yeah, no, that is a fair assessment.
5. Methods of prevention of mental derangement. Okay. The cause and cure of all psychosomatic illnesses, which number, some say, 70% of man's listed ailment. Okay, he just threw out a random ass percentage.
Some say.
Okay, that sounds like something Trump would say, The
Yes,
cause
no,
and
that's
cure
absolutely right.
of all psychosomatic illnesses, which number, some say, 70% of man's listed ailments.
In the millions.
Millions.
Yeah, I don't even try to do a Trump because this Australian accent can't do accents.
Yeah, so like number 1, like he doesn't define anything. It's just, again, like another deepity. The answer to the goal of thought. Okay. There is no single source of insanity, psychosis, neurosis, compulsion, repression, and social derangements. Nature and functional background of the human mind. I don't know what a functional background of a human mind might be. I could ask.
Trying to literally understand how, in his world, his mindset is trying to understand how it all works.
Yeah.
How it all functions, every little bit. We know a fair bit of it now, at least. We just don't know it all. But obviously, not compared to what they knew then.
Yeah. Currently, I would give modern psychology a partial check on that one. Techniques, the art of application by which the discovered single source could be invariably cured, ruling out, of course, blah 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 blah. That one, seeing as we cannot prove that all of those things have a single source, but we have developed techniques for the treatment of many of them. Again, I'll give Modern psychology, a partial check. The methods of prevention of mental derangement. Uh, we have many of those developed. Check mark. The cause and cure of all psychosomatic illnesses, which number some say. Okay, I'm just gonna like strike 6 from the list because he just made up psychosomatic ill. Well, he didn't make up; it's an actual word, but he's applying it to something that it's not. And then he just throws out a random figure, which who knows where he came up from. So, like, most of the things on this list that are actually relevant, modern psychology at least partially checks. So, I don't know, maybe if L. Ron Hubbard was alive today, he would say modern psychology was approaching a science of the mind, a true science of the mind. All right. Such a science would exceed the severest terms previously laid down for it in any age, but any computation on the subject should discover that a science of mind ought to be able to be and do just these things. Okay. A science of the mind, if it were truly worthy of that name, would have to rank in experimental precision with physics and chemistry. There could be no special cases to its laws. There could be no recourse to authority. The atom bomb burst whether Einstein gives it permission or not. Laws native to nature regulate the bursting of that bomb. Technicians applying techniques derived from discovered natural laws can make 1 or 1 million atom bombs all alike.
Well, it might not be Einstein that gives permission or not, but somebody has to give permission because otherwise the bomb's just going to fall and hit the ground. Because as far as I recall, especially back in the two big bombs that hit, Japan at least, they
Fat
had
boy
a
moment.
3-step. Yeah, they had as far as I recall, they had a 3-step failsafe basically, which 3 things that had to initialize within the bomb's mechanism before it would become active. I remember there was one bomb, I think it was in the 50s. Don't quote me exactly, but I remember one plane with a nuke went down and crashed, and 2 of the activation things had 2 of the locks had activated, so it only had one of the fail safes that kept it from exploding. It went down in a big flame of balls of fucking flames, and the bomb didn't explode. There still needs to be some kind of permission set there. It might not be Einstein though. It's not
Yeah.
really like it all just goes off
Oh yeah.
because I get what he's trying to say, but it's
Yeah.
still bullshit.
Exactly. And worthy of the name. Ooh, very how important sounding. After the body of axioms and technique After the body of axioms and technique was organized and working as a science of mind in rank with physical sciences, it would be found to have points of agreement with almost every school of thought about thought, which had ever existed. This is again a virtue and not a fault. What?
School of
No!
thought about thought. I love that. That's so. Just the wording is so bad.
Yeah. So does he mean that everyone who's ever pondered about how the mind works, got a little bit of it right, and so that the true science of mind would have parts of all of those in there? That's just no. Some people were dumb as fuck and came up with dumb as fuck ideas. You know?
And we have a great example.
I think really what he's doing there is just setting up what he's going to do later, which is just pick parts of other it's kind of like circular reasoning. You know how people in the Bible say God exists. How do you know? Well, the Bible says so. How do you know the Bible's true? God says so. How do you know God exists? The Bible says so. I think what he's doing here is
Yeah.
setting that up, that he's defining what a true science of mind would be, and I would bet that when he finally says what he thinks, he's gonna say, well, this is the true science of mind because look, further up in the book I defined what a science of mind is, and this fits that definition. You know?
Pretty much.
Simple though it is, Dianetics does and is these things. Oh look, I was right.
He's setting up his own Bible.
Oof, the Holy Bible. Oh, so he has another list of 13 points. Okay. 1. It is an organized science of thought built on Not to help me with that word right there. Thank you.
Definite axioms.
Statements of natural law on the order of those of the physical sciences. So I assume that we will find out what those axioms are later in the book. Okay. 2.
Yeah, that'd be the assumption.
You know what? I'd put a pretty good bet that he doesn't give us those though.
Oh, it'll be there somewhere. It won't be what we think that, what we'll expect to be some sound reasoning. It won't be.
Yeah. It contains a therapeutic technique with which can be treated all inorganic mental ills and all organic psychosomatic ills, which with assurance of complete cure in unselected cases. Okay.
So it's a pill to cure all.
Yeah. It's essential oils for the mind. It produces a condition of ability and rationality for man well in advance of the current norm, enhancing rather than destroying his vigor and personality. Again, 1950s.
The better person.
Yeah. 5. The basic nature of man is discovered in Dianetics rather than hazarded or postulated, since the basic nature can be brought into action in an individual completely, and that basic nature is discovered to be good. I would disagree that the fundamental nature of man is good.
No, even without that, it's like
Oh.
You've got it's being the nature of man discovered in Dianetics. It's discovered in rather than being hazarded or postulated, despite it being very known to the rest of us that it is hazarded in and postulated. And then I had another bit to it. It was funny and I fucking forgot it.
Oh no.
Put into action any individual completely. Yeah, and then it's sort of what's the word for it? Not self-prophesying.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Like he's saying that. I know what you mean, but I can't think of the word either.
But it's like, yeah, it's all good because we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's natural through this, and we figured it out, and that's how we knew it was all good. Oh, I can't. Well, we'll move on. I'll get stuck otherwise.
6. The single source of mental derangement is discovered and demonstrated on a clinical or laboratory basis by Dianetics. I'm going to say I don't think it is. Just
that's actually the point I was going to prove. He's trying to postulate that it can be predictability in what they do, which is what science will claim. So he's trying to take that same claim. He's trying to put it as a on the level playing field with science. That's what he was trying to do.
Oh, so he's doing exactly what creation scientists do.
Exactly.
Trying to at the same time drag science down and pull themselves up so that they can meet. And okay. 7. The extent, storage capacity, and recallability of the human memory is finally established by Dianetics. Okay. The full recording abilities of the mind are discovered by Dianetics with the conclusion that they are quite dissimilar to former suppositions. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm guessing it's acquiring the perfect mind, like a savant would become, you know, or you'd be like somebody would become a savant. It's somebody brilliant in the mind with, but in every way, that's their goal. So you'd have, a perfect memory. So, anything you see, you'd always be able to recall every little bit of your life. And it would be all to perfection because your mind works so perfectly.
Yes, I
That's the
believe.
kind of
Yeah,
idea I'm
I
thinking.
I believe that's what the, Scientologists call the Dianetic clear. Um,
Yeah, to be
yeah.
clear.
All right. 9. Dianetics brings forth the non-germ theory of disease. What? Complementing biochemistry and Pasteur's work on the germ theory to embrace the field.
Not sure.
So is he saying
I'd have,
germs don't exist?
not sure. Because then it's complementing biochemistry and Pasteur's work on the germ theory to embrace. So it depends what Pasteur's germ theory is, because that might be still with germs. It might just be the it might be just the title of the theory of non-germ theory. Sometimes it can be a little bit weird like that, but I think we'd have to look into that to really know. Unless somebody in the chat knows what the hell the non-germ theory and shit is.
Yeah, if someone. Yeah, sure. So if someone in chat knows, please tell us. So that was.
I got Snaily here saying he's saying the mind can beat germs. And
Mind over
did I
matter,
see
man.
correctly that have you read this book before, Snaily? Because I think I saw you in the chat before saying something about face palming. Yeah, head desk. I forgot how painful this book is, so it made me think maybe you'd read it.
I'm glad that even though he has read it.
She has.
Oh, okay. I'm glad that even though she has read this book, she's come to listen to me read it, knowing what she's in for.
That's a paddling, as Kate would say.
10. With Dianetics ends the necessity of destroying the brain by shock or surgery to affect tractability in mental patients and adjust them. Okay.
So yeah, it's trying to eliminate those harmful practices, basically. Iowin has something on the non-germ theory.
Oh, okay.
It says non-germ theory takes germs out and brings in thetans, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Basically, spirits that attach to us and cause all manner of sickness and issue. That's a great point because if I'd forgotten about the thetan thing. So
cheers. Yeah. Okay. So, know what I just realized? He's being homeopathy, but for psychology. He's saying
true that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it was like what you said before with essential. It's like essential oils.
Yeah, it's like no, don't go to your doctor because don't take all those harmful medicines. Don't do that. Do this. It's non-intrusive. It won't hurt you.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And then takes all your money, and in this case, your not your life kills you, but your devotion of your life.
Yeah, it's which is why I think it's kind of worse than like homeopathy or natural healing and things like that, because those things, they do have radical believers, but this takes your money, takes your life, and just, it's terrible, destroys people's lives. Okay. 11. A workable explanation of the psychological effects of drugs and endocrine substances exist in Dianetics and have problems posed by endocrinology are answered.
How do you need a workable explanation? You take them, they give you psychological effects.
Exactly. You eat a funny mushroom, you have a nice time for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Um, which I don't know in the 1950s, but I think they didn't quite understand how like certain drugs worked. But again, nowadays,
Oh no, it wasn't until I think the 60s and 70s that they started getting really testing with like LSD and all those sorts of things. Because
yeah,
before then, a lot of them were around. Well, not all of them, but well back, obviously in the early 20th century, as you know, and before that, things like heroin and all the rest of it were all medicines.
hmm.
So it's just about how the world has progressed, really.
Oh yeah. So like nowadays we understand that you smoke a cigarette, it's because and it makes you feel good because nicotine binds to dopamine receptors in your brain. We understand these
Because
things.
that's what cigarette smokers think when they're smoking.
Uh, all right. 12.
Hey, Faye.
Oh, is she is Wonder Lady
That
here?
it is. She's jumped in.
Oh, oh, how wonderful.
Always.
Oh yeah, she's great. I love hearing her say like fucked up things. It's wonderful.
Same. She's the best.
Oh, she is. Yeah, 12. Various educational, sociological, political, military, and other human studies are enhanced by Dianetics. Okay. 13. The field of cytology.
Hold up.
Huh?
Hold up.
Okay.
So before he was trying to put himself on an equal playing field as science. Now he's trying to be running up. He's trying to one up them because he's now not just being on that like I'm trying to play with the big kids thing, but he's saying we enhance real science.
Hmm.
So we make it better. So we're that. Mm,
Yep.
just
Yeah. It's not a religion. It's a lifestyle.
yeah.
You know, 13. The field of cytology is aided by Dianetics as well as other fields of research. So basically the same thing as 12.
Same thing.
Um,
Yeah.
this is then this then is a skeletal sketch of what would be the scope of a science of mind and what is the scope of Dianetics. So Dianetics is not the science of mind. Okay. But it's the best thing we have.
No. So what I'm taking from what Iron had said is that Dianetics is a process, or it's something like that anyway. So
Hmm.
it's not the science of it, but it's using the science of the mind to clear yourself and give yourself that perfect mind
Okay.
and have the full understanding of the science of the mind, or whatever it might be, whatever wording they use.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. We're on chapter 2 already. That was a lot quicker than only an hour and a half to get through a chapter.
Oh, that's not that bad.
A little less than that actually, because we had technical difficulties getting the stream up and running anyway. So probably closer to an hour, which yeah is pretty good for these streams.
Well, it'll say it on your stream. Yeah, just under an hour, 58 minutes.
Yeah. Uh, so do we want to go on to chapter 2? If if
I
you're still
probably can't
okay.
because I've got a few other things I'll have to get off and keep doing. It depends how long is it. Is it a long one? Do a
Chapter
couple pages.
2, it looks to be a little bit longer than chapter 1 actually. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I might.
All right. So
Might
now
not.
that we're in the chapter, what Nacha?
Yeah, I was just saying I might pass on the chapter 2.
Yeah.
Then they
So
can get it in.
I think now that we're in the chapter section of the book, I think stopping at the end of the chapter is probably good for a stream. So I think this is a good place to end. Next week we will read chapter 2. Hopefully Brant is back. He's not feeling super well right now, so hope he gets better. But thank you, Nacha, for coming on.
Not a
Is
problem at all.
yeah.
Good fun.
Um, link to Notch's channel is in the description, although I'm fairly sure everyone watching this is probably already subscribed to you.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, but thank you for coming on. Is there anyone you want to plug or anything like that?
Actually, there is a new channel called LEA, League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, which is a channel featuring Christy Santiago and Grey Skeptic Mac, where they discuss all sorts of hot topic political discussions and stuff, things that are going on, controversies, and they get down to the meat of it and just sort of see what the issues are and see if there's any way to find a solution. So I'm going to link in the chat their first episode, which is going to be, it is a mirror because technically it's already run live on Grey Skeptic Mac's channel, but since we are booting up this as a new channel, we're running them all again as premieres. The first 3 episodes as premieres, and then the following episodes will all be live events. So I'll have this linked in the chat. It's going live in 3 hours. So I'd like to see as many people there. Make sure you sub. We're a very new channel. We're literally 6 days old, and we are at about 124 subscribers. So we managed to make 100 subs in the first week. I don't know.
Really
it's
good.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it helps that everybody knows Christy, see? And so we just tell people it's Christy's channel, and everyone goes, "Oh my god!"
Well, I'll definitely be there in a couple hours. I hope I see everyone else there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm being told to plug the Floof. Absolutely, Floof Earth Religion. I don't think we have a proper YouTube yet, but on Twitter at Floof Earth.
At Floof Earth.
Floof Earth. There you go.
Yes, please tell me about this. What is Floof Earth?
Wait up. The Floof Earth it's a Floof Earth religion, and obviously it's a little bit of a rip-off of the Flat Earth religion, but more importantly, it's all about floofs, which are fluffy things, pets and other assorted lovable creatures that we live with, just to share and enjoy and make your day better. If you're not having a good day, you come to the Floof Earth and you're going to feel better.
Oh, that's very nice, but I don't know if I can follow it. I'm a strong believer in the Velociraptor Earth, so you know.
To be honest, they are actually one in the same. It's the same as the Cat Earth folk. They are part of the Floof Earth religion. It's like a all-encompassing thing.
Well then,
I mean, velociraptors are floofs. They're scaly floofs, or they might even be feathery floofs. Who knows? They're both.
Well, I think the Floof Earth religion has gained a convert, at least one.
Yay!
So, yeah. But thank you everyone for joining. We had 8 viewers now that we're ending the stream.
Oh.
Oh, but thank you everyone for watching, and for the 2 people who just joined us. Go back, start from the beginning, kill off some more brain cells.
It was a great show.
I certainly thought so. Mostly because of you, Nacha. Thank you for joining me once again. Well, not joining me once again, but thank you for joining me once again. All right. So, yeah. Thanks everyone. Nacha, any last words?
Much love.
All right. See y'all next week.